So there's something cool in the mailbox. I'm gonna go pick up the mail. Something from Hasselblad, brand new. Can't wait to check it out. Seat heaters on. We just love living out here in the woods. We still love the privacy. We've been out here over 3 years already. I don't think we'd ever want to go back and live in a city, we've both decided. But it's a little trek to the mailbox, so I'll pick up when we get there. If I can get a grip on it. Let's go in the house and open it up, see what's inside. All right, let's open up this beautiful camera. As you guys know, I was a huge fan of the original 907X 50C, and I'm very, very excited to see what 100 megapixels brings to this body. As you can see, I kind of ripped up the package there a little bit when I removed the tape, but here's the body, the 100C body. Has a space for a CF Express card, has a built-in 1 terabyte SSD drive. The battery is the same as the previous version. This is the 907X body itself. Look how thin it is. It's crazy. You take off the caps, you hook up the body to the back that you want to use, and you attach your lens, and away you go. This is the 38 f2.5V lens, beautiful lens. I just love the look and feel of this camera, guys. It's beautiful. And here is the accessory grip that allows you to have more customizable buttons and controls. This is overall a beautiful medium format camera, and I'm about to share my experience with it over the last few weeks. This is the Hasselblad 907X 100C review. So I wanted to find an image right off the bat that I could print large. I wanted to harness the power of this 100 megapixel sensor. Debbie and I took a trek into St. Louis and visited an abandoned industrial complex. All right, so this is Rootwad Park in St. Louis. It's an old industrial park, and I'd say 90% of the buildings here are abandoned. There's one still working as a steam plant, but it's very interesting walking around here because nobody is around here at all, unless, you know, there is a homeless camp up forward. There's a building here that has a door opening right up here. It says void, entering the void right there. So we're just here to get a couple photos of these buildings. I figured it would make a great test for the 100 megapixel sensor of the 907X 100C. So I've been having a blast shooting the 907X 100C for the past few weeks. Hasselblad sent me one to review, asked me if I would like to try it out. And of course, I said yes. Now, I did a review of the previous version, the 50C, and I loved that camera. So much so
that I bought it for myself. And why I love that camera is the same reason I love this one, because this one, the 100C, is actually quite a bit improved versus the 50. Here are the improvements in a nutshell. You're getting 100 megapixels on that medium format sensor, and that is a lot of megapixels. This means you're going to get the most amount of detail in your images that you can probably get with any camera today. 100 megapixels is a lot of information, so that's a plus right off the bat. The dynamic range is absolutely stunning on this camera. I'm going to throw up an image here, a before and after, of one that I purposely underexposed where you can't even see the subject, and an easy 2-second fix in Lightroom or Photoshop or your photo editor of choice brings it back to normal, and there's no noise, there's no grunge. It looks just as beautiful as if I exposed it correctly. So you don't even have to get your exposure spot on with this camera because the sensor has such a vast dynamic range. That's one thing I love about this sensor. Hasselblad's color science is off the charts. If you take images with this and just open up the JPEGs, the colors will look exactly like you remembered them in real life. The colors are accurate, they're beautiful, and I don't think I've ever shot a camera with as good of color science as these Hasselblad cameras. The 907X has a vintage retro kind of appeal and aesthetic, and that's another thing that draws us to it, or draws me to it. It reminds me of those old 500 series bodies. You can use this back on an old 500 or 200 series body. If you have one of those old analog bodies, attach that back and it turns it into a modern day 100 megapixel digital analog kind of concoction. But I don't have one of those to try here, but I wish I did. I bet it would be pretty fun. Now, the camera is not for sports. It's not for action. This is not a camera that will do everything. So if you're shooting something like a Nikon Z9 or a Sony A1 or any camera like that, this is not a camera that is meant to compete with those. Rather, this is a camera for those of you that want to go out, find the shot, take your time, frame it up, press that one shutter button one time and get that one shot. You're not going to get 10, 20 frames per second here. This is a camera that captures beauty. And as I said in the 50C review, this is an artist's camera. It's a camera for the serious photographer, for the passionate photographer. It doesn't do video, thank goodness. It is purely, strictly a photographer's camera. Now, some will say, well, what about the X2D 100C that Hasselblad has released? The X2D 100C has been raved about, and it includes improvements as well. It also has IBIS built in where the 907X does not, and the X2D 100C has an EVF as well as an LCD. The 907X only has the flip-up LCD. So if you're looking for an EVF up-to-your-eye experience, take a look at that X2D 100C. It uses the same exact sensor, and the sensor here is really the star of the show. Now, when this camera arrived, I unboxed it, and I was like, wow, this looks exactly like the 50C, because it's still the 907X body, which is that really thin piece that's in the box. That's the actual body. I'll plop it up on screen here so you can see it. Then you attach the back to it, and it kind of snaps and clicks into place perfectly. And then you just attach your lens. It's a modular camera system. So there's no IBIS in here. There's no EVF in here. It offers a waist, kind of like a waist level shooting experience. You flip up the LCD, you look down at the LCD, frame your shot, press that button, and away you go. So it's really aimed at those who want a camera that can really touch your heart and soul. It's a camera, a romantic camera. It's not a technical camera. It's a camera that makes you want to pick it up and go out and shoot it. With its 1 terabyte SSD drive inside, you're not going to run out of space. You can throw a CF Express card in there as well to have more storage, or even use it as a backup. Now, there's another piece you can add to the 907X 100C to add more function to it, the control grip. It has 4 buttons that you can actually program within the camera's menu to whatever you want. So when I hooked up the control grip, I programmed one of the buttons for exposure lock. That way you can easily lock the exposure. That's something that's lacking if you don't have the control grip. If you're just using the box body, there's no exposure lock that I know of on the body. But adding that control grip adds quite a bit of function. It adds a grip to hold it. I was carrying it around by the grip when I was out and about, and I really enjoyed using it with the grip. But having programmable buttons and a joystick and an extra shutter button really ups the versatility of the camera. So one day, Debbie and I went out. We took a drive to St. Louis. We found an abandoned industrial park, and I took a couple of shots, but I had a goal. I wanted to take an image that would showcase the resolution of the 100C. So I took an image at this industrial park of this old factory, right? And it just looked really vintage, really cool. And I sent it off and had it printed at 20 by 30 as a metal print. Let's take a look at that right now.
And here is the print, 20 by 30. If I could go back, I would have made it just a matte paper print. This metal is super reflective, almost looks like a mirror. But either way, the print came out fantastic. So I ended up getting a matte print on paper, and it's so much better. The details are astonishing. You can see every little crack and crevice in this building. Definitely printing on matte is the way to go. I don't know why I got that metal print, but I love this print, and it really shows what 100 megapixels can do. I could have went even bigger.
And of course, with the large size sensor, it's not quite a full medium format size. It's 645 sized, but it's much bigger than a 35 millimeter sensor. That means the renderings, your images, are going to have a different vibe, a different feel. And I see this instantly no matter what I shoot with the camera. And as I talk, I'm going to be putting up some photos for you guys to take a look at, all shot with the 907X 100C, as well as the 38 millimeter f2.5V lens. Now, this is a lens that's really nice. And in my opinion, quite a bit of an improvement over the initial lenses that Hasselblad came out with for the XCD line. The 38 f2.5V lens offers up a rendering that's a little bit modern, a little bit vintage, and just all out beautiful. You have beautiful bokeh due to the 2.5 aperture. You have beautiful sharpness even when wide open. And if you stop it down to f8, f11, you can get really sharp. So this is one of my favorite lenses, if not my favorite lens that I've shot so far to date with the Hasselblad system. This camera is not for those who want to shoot sports or action. This camera is best suited to things such as landscapes, portraits, environmental portraits, and basically just making life memories. The Hasselblad 907X 100C and their X2D body has the most simplistic, easy to use menu system that I've ever experienced. I've mentioned this in the original X1D review and 907X review, but the menus are now lag-free completely. They're quick. The touchscreen LCD works perfectly and flawlessly. And there's minimal things in the menu. There's nothing confusing at all. It's all about photography, and that is it. Right here is your battery compartment. Your battery goes there. You have your slot for your CF Express card, and that closes nicely and neatly. What about the autofocus of the 907X 100C? How does it compare to the previous version? It's quite a bit faster. It's quite a bit snappier. There's a new feature on the 100C, Face Detect. We actually have Face Detect, Phase Detect autofocus. Yes, this camera, if you're taking portraits and turn on Face Detect, it will detect the face and it will make sure you are focused on your subject. But overall, the autofocus now using Phase Detect is much quicker, and I'm finding it's also much more accurate. I haven't missed focus on any of the shots with the 907X 100C. So overall, I enjoyed my time with this camera. I'm going to be sad packing it back up and sending it back to Hasselblad. It really is something that is unique and like nothing else out there in the world today. It's a unique experience, it's unique in looks, and it's a camera that will absolutely touch your heart and soul. So yeah, I can highly recommend this camera if you're in the market for something like this. I've never shot a camera like the 907X, whether it's the 50C or the 100C, but I can happily say the 100C exceeded my expectations. I was afraid it was going to be clunky, slow to autofocus, a little glitchy, but Hasselblad has ironed out all of those issues compared to their first gen, the X1D. This is a smooth operating camera and one that I've had absolutely zero issues with. And I got a nice 20 by 30 metal print out of my time with it that I will hang up in our guest house and bring me back to the memory of shooting this camera. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and feel free to subscribe. There's always more on the way here. I will see you guys in the next one.